I kept out of the way. For this list, we'll be looking at where the Netflix historical drama stuck to the truth, and where they indulged in some creative license during its 4th season. What was the most surprising fact you learned from this season? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Lord Mountbatten's death. Right.
Earl Mountbatten of Burma has been killed in an explosion on his boat off the west coast of Ireland. The Provisional IRA have said that they were responsible.
Episode 1 shows the shocking assassination of Lord Mountbatten during the August Bank Holiday of 1979. The Provisional IRA claimed responsibility for the attack, which also killed one of his 14-year-old grandsons and 15-year-old boat boy Paul Maxwell, among others. The depiction of this horrifying incident is quite accurate, except that Lord Mountbatten was found alive and only died after being brought ashore.
1, 2, 3.
In the wake of the horrible news, we see Prince Charles receive a final letter from his great-uncle.
You're more than a man, more than a prince. One day, dear boy, you shall be king. And now, to the sea.
While it's true that the pair shared a close bond, unfortunately there is no evidence that such a letter exists. Number 9. The Balmoral Test. Right.
The infamous Balmoral tests, said he. Apparently, the royal family routinely subject all their guests to secret tests to find out whether someone is acceptable or not acceptable.
This tradition, reportedly started by Queen Victoria, still exists today, with anyone from potential spouses to other esteemed guests being put through a sort of initiation.
Are we allowed to sleep in one bed?
I shall go and check with the protocol sheet.
And what do you think 6 p.m. is? Drinks or dinner?
Oh, who knows?
What do we wear?
What the heck, who cares?
Visitors are expected to know royal protocol, join in with the family's leisurely activities, and not sit in Queen Victoria's chair.
That chair. No one sits in that chair. It's Queen Victoria's chair.
We see 2 vastly different experiences in Season 4, with Diana nailing her visit, while Thatcher struggles to keep up.
Calling number 10. Ibble dibble with...
It's true that Diana impressed the family in real life, but her taking of the test was not her first time meeting them.
Let me know if I passed.
I'm sure you have.
While we don't really know much about how the Prime Minister fared, it seems that this whole experience was not her cup of tea. Number 8. Diana roller skates in Buckingham Palace. Right. Season 4 highlights Diana's love for the arts, and believe it or not, that performance of Uptown Girl at the Royal Opera House was very real, as were the reactions to it.
In the speech, as they went, and she was on fire. I mean, she took it, embraced it as if she'd been doing it for hundreds of years.
Though Diana was a fan of the Phantom of the Opera, her rendition of All I Ask of You was arguably fictional. It's certainly true that Diana enjoyed music, and rollerblades. The Crown producer Una O'Byrne insists that she brought this hobby indoors and perhaps even cycled down the palace hallways too. Ultimately, the inclusion of the scene was to remind audiences of how young Diana was when she married the heir apparent to the British throne. Number 7. Prince Charles and Diana's first meeting. Wrong.
I was given strict instructions to remain out of sight. I just have to get to that room over there. Oh, and this is the only way.
While dating your sibling's ex might be considered a faux pas, it's true that Diana first met the prince while he was dating her older sister, Lady Sarah Spencer, in 1977.
I kept out of the way. I remember being fat, podgy, non-makeup, unsmart lady, but I made a lot of noise and he liked that.
Diana was indeed 16 when they first met in a plowed field outside the Spencer's family home, but we can pretty much guarantee that she wasn't dressed as a tree.
Quite a costume.
The costume was likely the idea of creator Peter Morgan and the Crown's writers, and reportedly included as a reference to Diana's love of the performing arts.
I'm Sarah's younger sister, by the way. Please don't tell her you saw me. I'll get into terrible trouble. She wanted everything to be just perfect. She wouldn't want me to scare you off.
It was in 1980 when the pair met again, and Charles first saw the potential for a promising royal wife.
I'm sorry, we haven't met.
We have. I was in costume at the time. Sarah Spencer's younger sister.
The mad tree.
Diana.
Number 6. Princess Margaret tries to call off the wedding. Wrong.
Nor taken in hand, unadvisedly, lightly or wantonly, but reverently, discreetly, soberly, and in the fear of God.
When Princess Margaret spots a familiar expression on her nephew's face during his wedding rehearsal, old feelings come flooding back.
I cannot allow you to marry Peter and remain part of this family. That is my decision.
She pleads with her mother and sister to call off the wedding, asking how many times can they make the same mistake when it comes to forcing some marriages and denying others.
Forbidding marriages should be allowed. Forcing others shouldn't. paying the consequences each time.
While it would be fair to believe that Princess Margaret could have objected to the marriage, given her own history, it's actress Helena Bonham Carter who takes credit for coming up with this idea.
We can stop them now, before they tie the knot. Not just for the sake of the monarchy, but for them as human beings.
Sadly, though, the family ignores her warnings, and the rest, as they say, is history. Number 5. Camilla invites Diana to lunch. Right.
Darling, you really know nothing, do you?
It may surprise you that this lunch date at the aptly named Ménage à Trois actually happened. There are conflicts about the exact timing of its occurrence, however.
Do let's have lunch soon when Victor Rouse goes to Australia and New Zealand. I'd love to see the ring. Lots of love, Camilla. And that was... wow.
Some sources, like royal biographer Penny Junor, claim it occurred after Diana and Charles were already married, while others place it when they were newly engaged, like what the show suggests. In The Crown, Camilla asserts her importance in Charles's life through a rather awkward exchange as Diana grows increasingly agitated.
What about hunting? Not if I can help it. More of a townie, really. So you see yourself living more in London than in the country? Why'd you ask?
But while the show suggests that Diana knew about Camilla and Charles's relationship, in reality, it was this lunch date, according to royal writer Andrew Morton, that first fueled her suspicions that Camilla was more than just a close friend, which her husband had initially described her as.
We had lunch, and very tricky indeed. She said, "You're not going to hunt, are you?" I said, "No." I just wanted to know that.
Number 4. The Queen and Margaret Thatcher's turbulent relationship. Right. While the British stiff upper lip prevented any public admission of a frosty relationship, the evidence speaks for itself. With significantly different backgrounds and starkly opposing views, the pair often struggled to see eye to eye.
If we are to turn this country around, we really must abandon outdated and misguided notions of collective duty.
The Queen reportedly didn't like Thatcher's treatment of the Commonwealth, the ever-growing unrest in the country, or that the Prime Minister acted like the head of state.
There are ways of Britain being great again, and that is through a revitalized economy, not through association with unreliable tribal leaders in eccentric costumes.
But isn't that all I am, Prime Minister? A tribal leader in eccentric costumes.
It didn't help either that the Sunday Times published an article in 1986 stating that the Queen had called Thatcher, quote, uncaring, confrontational, and socially divisive. Nevertheless, almost 2 weeks after Thatcher's resignation, the Queen awarded her the Order of Merit.
What matters is your accomplishments. And nobody can deny that this is a very different country now to the one inherited by our first woman Prime Minister.
Number 3. The Queen faces an intruder. Wrong.
The incident left royal commentators asking 2 questions. How on earth did he get in? And what did they talk about?
This unbelievable security breach did actually happen. Twice. While there are definitely elements of the truth in the Crown's version of events, Michael Fagan's unreliable accounts left the writers heavily reliant on creative license to fill in the gaps. As you can imagine, the Queen was hardly going to have a chat with an intruder in her bedroom, but it's true that it took time until she was able to summon help.
Out, get out!
Promise, you have nothing to fear from me.
There's an armed policeman outside this door.
No, there isn't.
Hello?
Finding a common thread throughout Fagan's varied accounts, the writers used the opportunity to highlight the ever-growing problem of unemployment in Britain at the time.
Mark my words. She's put us out of work. She's quietly putting you out of work.
Number 2. Nerissa and Catherine Bowes Lyon. Right.
They have pictures of the whole family, which they know is their family.
Love that one, don't you?
In one of the most devastating revelations of Season 4, Margaret discovers that cousins she believed to have died were in fact very much alive.
I only ask because I am aware, through professional colleagues, of the sisters.
Sisters?
Although Margaret's involvement is fictional, it's sadly true that the sisters, who had severe learning disabilities, were admitted into a mental health institution by their mother and essentially left there.
Yes, I remember hearing about Catherine and Nerissa. Their terrible problems. But they're long dead. It's my understanding they're both very much alive.
It's also correct that they were falsely recorded as dead in the 1963 Burke's Peerage records. It wasn't until a year after Nerissa's death in 1986 that their story made headlines. We don't know how much the royals actually knew, as they refused to provide comments.
The hereditary principle already hangs by such a precarious thread. Throw in mental illness, and it's over.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Princess Diana's engagement ring. Right, Diana really was presented with a tray of rings to choose from.
Yes, a lovely choice, ma'am.
Is that one of yours? What can you tell us about that, apart from the price?
It's a 12-carat oval Ceylon sapphire, Your Majesty, surrounded by 14 diamonds set in 18-carat white gold.
Wonderful sapphire and diamond.
When were you given that? Just last night?
No, Sunday.
Princess Diana's 1989 solo trip to New York. Right. From her Concorde flight to her visit to Harlem Hospital, they nailed this historic trip. Prince Andrew dated Koo Stark. Right. This pairing certainly would have been considered scandalous.
It's set in the 1920s. Follows a impressionable, nubile, 17-year-old girl, Koo.
17? I'm not sure I want to know more.
Don't be such a prude, Mummy.
Mark Thatcher goes missing as the Falklands are invaded. Wrong. While he did go missing, it was not around the same time as the invasion of the Falkland Islands.
It's my son, Mark.
Prince Charles was feared dead after an avalanche. Wrong. While the royals were fine, Prince Charles did lose his close friend, Major Hugh Lindsay.
Efforts to locate the prince continue. They were on the Hadramad, a notoriously challenging off-piste slope, when the avalanche struck.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Diana and Charles's troubled relationship. Right.
And if I may say, you both look very much in love.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Whatever in love means.
It's hardly a secret that the Prince and Princess of Wales's marriage was anything but a fairy tale.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means. That's your own interpretation.
After a proposal that seemed to set the tone for their marriage, we see loneliness and unhappiness take their toll on Diana.
And thanks to you.
Thanks to me, people have shown up. Thanks to me, people are interested.
No, thanks to you, people are laughing in my face. Booing the heir to the throne.
Their incompatibility, numerous affairs, and perhaps also some envy over the people's princess status led to irreconcilable differences. Not to mention, as Diana famously said,
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
she barely had a confidant among the royal family either, with former ally Prince Philip allegedly insisting by letter that she remain in her unhappy marriage. After 4 years of separation, they finally divorced in 1996.
And I can do this job so much better.